I was thinking about Los Angeles and that time we're going through and realize that we're really going through a historic moment here in the next 3 years that I don't think is talked about enough. Like, I think we all know as Los Angelenos what's happening, but I'm pretty plugged into the marketing ecosystem, the entrepreneur ecosystem, as you are. And I feel like no one's really talked about how crazy what's happening in the next 3 years. Right. We have the World Cup this year. We have the Super Bowl next year. And we have the Summer Olympics in 2028.
And by the way, quick aside, we're recording this in early February. It'll come out in a couple weeks in middle February. I think the All-Star game is here next week.
Exactly.
For the NBA. That's not even part of the study. Right. But that's also happening.
Right. And so I thought about that and I was just like, wow, what an insane economic opportunity for entrepreneurs here, right, in Los Angeles. That's number one. I mean, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I would love for small business owners, medium-sized business owners, restaurants that have just been decimated to be able to partake in this revival that's happening in the next 3 years. Yep. So I want to bring attention to that. And so just we don't know exactly what the marketing spend is going to be, but I'll outline kind of what I found through my research. World Cup, it's between 2.5 and 3 billion in marketing spend alone. Wow. Super Bowl, interestingly, right? We think Super Bowl is so much money. It is, but it's only $500 million compared, but still, let's add that. And then the Olympics, you're looking at 2 to 3 billion. So all in all, kind of conservatively is 5 billion to 6 billion in marketing spend the next 3 years. This is just marketing. Right. This is not all the tourists coming in, all the infrastructure spending the government's doing. I mean,
this isn't the value of future media value that comes from exposure. This isn't all that. This is just the direct marketing spend.
This is just direct marketing spend, 5 billion conservatively, right?
In 36 months, over the span of
months.
A relatively short period of time.
We are so grateful to be supported by these community champions: Sales MD, Team Friday, Realist Lab, Kiana Patterson, Diego Chavez, Jer Boucher, Heather Ryder, Janine Sua, Lily Roca, and Steve Kernan.
Hola, hello, hi, bienvenido, and welcome back, or welcome to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. As you know, this is the show where I get the privilege to have weekly conversations with some of the best and brightest entrepreneurial thinkers across all sectors and segments of society and industry as we come together to try to leave this world a little bit better than we found it through these conversations. And today, we're going to use this conversation to talk about some real game-changing insight and research that is literally, by us understanding this research, we're going to literally be able to begin to leave the world a little bit better than we found it, both in generic sense and here in Los Angeles. So today, no more ado is needed. I am super excited to be joined by my friend Mario Carrasco. He is obviously, for those that listen or watch, an alumnus of the show, a returning guest. We all know him. We love him. And he is the co-founder and principal of cultural insight agency ThinkNow. And that's what we're going to do today. He's going to help us start to understand how we can think now about Los Angeles. So let me tell you a little bit about him for those that might not remember before we get to meet him here in today's show. So he is the leader of the powerhouse team of researchers, analysts, and storytellers at ThinkNow, which is a forward-leaning cultural insights agency based in Burbank, California. It's got over 15 years of experience in data-driven marketing and market research. And Mario's mission really is to kind of unravel the cultural tapestry that influences consumer decisions. He lives at this fascinating intersection of culture, data, and real life. And in this groundbreaking research report, which they just released and we're about to talk about here today, he's going to help us dissect and understand Los Angeles, which is, we both know, one of our favorite topics, and what he calls kind of the ultimate world in one city. He has spent years decoding how identity, culture, and human behavior actually shape the way that we think, the way that we buy, vote, and frankly belong. And he's here to help us understand, ourselves today. So let's get into it. Mario, welcome back to Entrepreneurial Thinkers. I'm stoked to see you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great intro. I'm gonna have to steal that for our report. I'm gonna use that audio on some of the videos. Thank
It's
you.
all
No, so
it is
excited to be on here because I
fully
know
available to you.
you're
Fully available to you when we're done, buddy.
I know you're, such a big fan of Los Angeles and all in on Long LA. So it felt like the perfect podcast to come on and talk about this research.
Super grateful for it. The minute that you even teased online on socials like months ago that you guys were working on something like this,
Yeah.
I was like right in your DMs. I was like, I don't care when it comes out, but whenever it comes out, like we got it. I want a front row. We got to talk about this.
Yeah, this is the first podcast that I'm going to be talking about it in depth and full transparency. I told you before, I'm going to be referencing the slides here. So
Please,
I usually go off the top, but this is so new that I haven't memorized it yet.
No, it's all good. And frankly, it's a great service. Thank you for doing that, taking that care
Yeah.
with this information, because as I've had a chance to see the summary versions that I've seen, I already know how important this is to our audience of listeners. And again, just reframing, right? Like we have all kinds of people that listen to this show, right? It's as much about business entrepreneurs and investors as it is about executives, as it is about political leaders, electeds. Like there's all kinds of stakeholders who fashion themselves, and I believe them to be entrepreneurial thinkers. And I think this insight, I know for a fact, because I've seen it, this insight is going to be hugely valuable to them. So with that said, buddy, first question for you to get us started kind of right out of the gate. The title of the report is The World in One City. What does that headline mean to you?
Yeah. So I'll kind of talk about the genesis of the report. So we just got off doing what I think is some of the most important work, which is we did research on the economic impact of ICE in Los Angeles. And it was, I feel like we had to do it, but it was a downer, right? It was, I mean, I know how you feel about it, and we're not focused on that for this podcast, but we know how much it's affected Los Angeles. And so as I was thinking about it,
it's beat up the mood, right? I mean, aside from the practical, tragic and destructive effects it's had on our immigrant communities, on our communities as a whole, and on our economy, those things are all true. But like, it's also just like really kicked the shit out of the vibe.
Right. Exactly. And I was feeling that and being in that data that was really depressing. I said, you know what, I need to shake myself out of this, and what can I do? And so I was thinking about Los Angeles, and that time we're going through, and realize that we're really going through a historic moment here in the next 3 years that I don't think is talked about enough. Like, I think we all know as Los Angelenos what's happening, but I'm pretty plugged into the marketing ecosystem, the entrepreneur ecosystem, as you are. And I feel like no one's really talked about how crazy what's happening in the next 3 years. Right. We have the World Cup this year. We have the Super Bowl next year. Yep. And we have the Summer Olympics in 2028.
And by the way, quick aside, we're recording this in early February. It'll come out in a couple of weeks in middle February. I think the All-Star game is here next week.
Exactly.
For the NBA. That's not even part of the study. Right. But that's also happening.
Right. And so I thought about that, and I was just like, wow, what an insane economic opportunity for entrepreneurs here, right, in Los Angeles. That's number one. I mean, I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I would love for small business owners, medium-sized business owners, restaurants that have just been decimated, to be able to partake in this revival that's happening in the next 3 years. Yep. So I want to bring attention to that. And so just we don't know exactly what the marketing spend is going to be, but I'll outline kind of what I found through my research. World Cup, it's between 2.5 and 3 billion in marketing spend alone. Wow. Super Bowl, interestingly, right? We think Super Bowl is so much money. It is, but it's only 500 million compare, but still, let's add that. And then the Olympics, you're looking at 2 to 3 billion. So all in all, kind of conservatively is 5 billion to 6 billion in marketing spend the next 3 years. This is just marketing. Right. This is not all the tourists coming in. all the infrastructure spending the government's doing. I mean,
Yeah. This isn't the value of like future media value
right.
that comes from exposure. Like this isn't
Yeah.
all that. This is just like the direct marketing spend.
This is just direct marketing spend, $5 billion conservatively, right?
In
And
36 months, like over the
in
span of
36
like
months.
a relatively short period of time.
Right. So I was like, what could we do to bring awareness to this historic 3 year? I don't know if there's been a city that's had something like that. I mean, back to back to back, right?
Yeah,
Like
probably not.
probably not, right?
Probably maybe us, but like in a different framework, right?
Yeah. So that was one. And then two, so that was kind of the genesis of the report. I'm like, we're experiencing that. How can we contribute? How can we raise awareness? And so that's how the World in One City was born. And I started to think about it. I was like, well, I want to do research in Los Angeles. I want to do some thought leadership to give like a taste to companies, to government institutions about Los Angelenos. Interestingly, one of the things we'll get into, Los Angelenos don't really necessarily like being called Los Angelenos.
Right. I was fascinated by that. We'll get to that, like you said.
Yeah.
But I was fascinated to discover the nuance of how we
Right.
like predominantly refer to ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's exactly the type of stuff that I wanted to give brands, companies, government agencies, is like a roadmap. I didn't want to give it to them all because I would love for them to spend some money with us and do some research. But I wanted to start to get them their appetite going for, one, realizing the opportunity, and two, realize how complex, diverse, important Los Angeles is going to be. And then the second part, as I started to dig in and put this research together, I started to realize something that I think is equally, if not maybe more important for companies, is that, and hence the name, The World in One City, is that Los Angeles really is like a test bed for the future of the country.
Yeah.
Meaning what's happening here in Los Angeles today is what is going to happen to the United States, to the Midwest, to the South, already happening in the East Coast in some DMAs, but it's already happening here. And so I thought, what a great time for brands and companies that maybe show up once a year during Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, Pride Month, whatever it may be, do one activation, to set up shop for 3 years, really invest in understanding Los Angeles, because that not only taps into this huge opportunity we have in the next 3 years, but it future-proofs your business for the next 10, 20, 30 years. I was just talking to my business partner today at lunch that the census just put out, I think, some American community survey results that I believe this is the first year that more multicultural babies were born than non-Hispanic white ever.
Okay.
And so,
in the United States.
In the United States.
So which I bet, to your prior point a second ago, like I bet if we went back and were able to trace that demographic data, I bet we would find out that moment probably happened here already some handful of years ago. Right?
It did. Right. And so I thought, okay, like, I know that's a little more abstract, but it's not really, right? Like today, more babies are multicultural than not.
Yeah.
And so to me, Los Angeles is a glimpse in the future. And like, I know we live in a bubble, right? But that's okay, because this bubble is going to get bigger.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's and here's a couple of observations. Just so this is me giving feedback on how I read it, how the summary parts that I saw of the report landed on me, and then just even validating a couple things you've said, which I think are important and bear repeating before we continue on. Like, two things. One, now that I'm hearing you describe your initial kind of instinctive, like, this is why I think we should do this report, like the duality of the title, to me, the way I read it, the duality of the title both implies like the world coming to inhabit and exist and populate and matriculate their business in one city, right? Yes. For this period of time, repeatedly, kind of over but then the world the demographic, kind of population, ethnic diversity, et cetera, already exists in this one city.
Yeah.
Right. So like to me, the duality of the title was what immediately grabbed my attention. But then the other thing that I think you said, and you write in your opening statement there, which I think is hugely important, especially to the people that listen to or watch this show, is that what you're doing is you're calling out the opportunity, right? And in some ways you're calling it out to us as Angelenos and those leaders, I'll say the entrepreneurial thinkers across all the different sectors and segments of our community, right? But at the same token, you're not only calling us out and saying like, hey, wake up, people. Like, I get it. Like, we're still recovering from the pandemic. And then, yes, we've now had to deal with like the second Trump presidency and like all of this destructive stuff. And like, I get that that's all true. And yes, there's stuff like we have to just do this stuff every day. Like, but also like, hello, like we're staring down the barrel of
like, I mean, to your point,
immense
like,
opportunity. Like we got, like, this is a chance for us to thrive.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at eSudo. You know, running any business, but especially a law firm, means balancing a lot. And technology, frankly, shouldn't be a headache. eSudo makes information technology and cybersecurity simple for law firms large or small. With over 20 years of experience, they specialize in everything from Microsoft 365 management to advanced cybersecurity solutions. They help you to stay ahead of threats, manage your data securely, and keep your tech running smoothly so that you can focus on what matters most, your clients. eSudo understands the legal industry's unique needs, offering tailored solutions to ensure that your firm is always in compliance and always protected. Are you ready to upgrade your firm's technology or get help with your questions? Visit esudo.com.
Exactly. And to your point about your audience, entrepreneurial thinkers, I love entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur. I love seeing entrepreneurs, especially Los Angeles-based entrepreneurs succeed. And thinking about startups, like the opportunity is so big. If you put this in a deck, right, and had a solution that was just Los Angeles-based, 5.5 billion in marketing.
Yep. That's
like, we should be seeing a ton of companies launching, servicing just this opportunity in this one city.
Right. And a city, I know you know this data, and listeners of the show hear me repeat it all the time. If Los Angeles, so forget the whole, if California were a country, we all know that one, right? But if Los Angeles, the MSA, I think you call it, the Metropolitan Statistical Area, if Los Angeles were a country, we'd be like the 17th or 18th largest economy in the world. Like the metro area, meaning we'd be somewhere in size and economic potential and scope of business opportunity. We'd be somewhere between like a brand coming to you and saying, well, Mario, we're thinking about like, should we expand to Saudi Arabia, or should we expand to Indonesia, or should we expand to Switzerland, or should we expand to Los Angeles? And you're with this research. Again, it's not just the hyperbole of your and my love for our city. Like it's the research that now backs it up. Which is
we're seeing brands right now, Los Angeles-based brands expand nationally all the time, right? In-N-Out, classic one. Yeah. Born Raised is always been a national brand, but it's very Los Angeles. But now I see it spreading to other cities. Vallarta, grocery market here. Latino-based grocery market going to Arizona. Those are just three off the top of my head, but so many Los Angeles brands that are realizing this intuitively, like, hey, we're making it in the 18th largest economy in the world. Why are we only in LA, right?
Right. Like, hey, maybe we could do this somewhere else. Like, we're pretty good at this, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we could double down here and we could expand here before we worry about expanding to San Diego County or to Phoenix or to Nevada. Like maybe there's just massive opportunity here that we're not thinking of. And that's what I love.
Vallarta, for example, they're a privately owned company, but I know from people that have worked, they're like roughly doing $1 billion a year.
Right.
I mean,
or what's the other one? The Northgate guys.
Northgate.
Right? That's like another $1 billion company. Like
that's
in retail
crazy.
Grocery. Right. I mean, these are like massive companies that have largely just been built here in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
right? I mean, and so no, all right. So let's do this. You and we could just live in this point the whole time, but this idea that this third thing that you mentioned, which I think is really important, and honestly, it kind of encompasses a few questions that I was going to ask. So we'll pull it apart any way you want to. But this idea that Los Angeles is as you kind of a secondary headline that shows up throughout the report, is a live test environment for the next decade of American identity. Right. I love that. And I get it. Like for all the folks that'll push back, or for all the loud, shouty folks on social media that will yell like Fox News talking points at us or stuff like that. Like, I get it. Like, you're afraid of progress, and you're afraid of the future, and you're afraid of the future and progress ever making it to your neighborhood. And therefore everything that we live in here in Los Angeles, which is literally built on progress and the future, like, concerns you or frightens you. I get that that's true. But like, that opinion doesn't change facts. And here today, we're here to talk about facts and reality. And so talk to me, if you can, about this idea of us as our governor. Whether people like him or don't like him is irrelevant, but he uses a great catchphrase all the time, which is like, we're the coming attractions for the country. We're the preview. We're the future before it happens. Like that is California. That is Los Angeles. So talk to me from your research standpoint. Like, why is what happens here, or what brands experience here, or how they market to people here based on all the different identities, why is that just true when it comes to the rest of the country, regardless of how people might feel?
Yeah. I mean, so Los Angeles today is already majority multicultural. I think it's like 72%. And so that's one. And if you break that out, it's like 48, almost 50% Hispanic Latino, 9% Black, 15% Asian, and then 5% multiracial. One thing I want to asterisk on the multiracial, that is actually the fastest growing demographic in the US, which is super fascinating. So driven by Hispanic, they're most likely to have interracial children, but that, even though it's small, like, that's big, and there's implications there. And I think LA is a great expression of that. I mean, we have such amazing fusions of food, right? Korean, Mexican, etc.
I'm thinking of my now 15-month-old grandson. Like, Leo's a quarter Mexican. Right. Because his mom's half Mexican, right? I mean, he's a quarter Mexican, and like, he's a quarter Mexican and part Canadian. Like, he's got all kinds of things going on.
Exactly. And so that's real right now. If we look forward 20 years, census, and I think it's going to happen quicker, but if we look at the trends, and actually it might just be updated today, but by 2045, the US as a whole is going to be a majority multicultural nation.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy to say, because when I got into multicultural marketing like 20 years ago, I think it was like 50 years out. So it's gotten faster.
You're also getting older. So
I'm also getting older.
You've survived long enough to see it come true.
Right. And so, to your point earlier, right? Like, however you feel about it, it's happening. Yeah. And I think that what's important to point out is that immigration from Latin America has slowed down.
Yep.
Yeah, I know there's the talking points. Oh no, our border, but it's slowed down. Yep. The peak was in the 90s. I don't remember, but within the last 5 years, there was a year there that more people were returning back to Mexico voluntarily than came into Mexico. And I know that's not the only country people are coming in from.
And even in that context, I don't know all the exact statistics, but thematically, like, most southern border immigration into the United States over the last 10 years has actually not been Mexicans migrating to the U.S., which is what it predominantly was for decades. It's mostly been Central Americans migrating through Mexico and migrating into the U.S. So
correct. But even that's down. And so why is the U.S. going to be majority minority nation in 2045? It's U.S. births.
Right.
So regardless of how you feel, these are Americans. Yep. These are people born in the United States. And so that, to your point, it's not changing.
Right.
The majority of the reason this demographic shift is happening is because of births, not because of immigration. And so we see that happening now in Los Angeles, right? Um, so that's kind of future proofing. That being said, that's why I believe, obviously I'm biased, but research is so critical because, bicultural consumers, I'm sure you see it in your daughter. You're both American and you have,
Yep.
a culture that informs how you think about things and buy products and services. And so that's why I think it's so important to look at Los Angeles. One, not only because of the opportunity we mentioned, but two, the buying habits and behaviors of people here is what we're
Right.
going to see in the future.
And so
Yeah.
to that point, right? So then what the report is highlighting, and again, really highlighting, like, is this, as you say, loosely $5+ billion opportunity as a result of just these kind of three huge anchor events happening over the next 3 years. But your point, if I'm hearing you, if I'm in the salesman CEO hat now and I'm thinking, like, what's he trying to tell the market? Like, I'm hearing you essentially saying to brands, to companies, to organizations of any sort, right? Like, hey, if you want to figure out how to best position, sell, market, storytell your brand story to the country over the next 25 to 50 years, we're giving you a unique, like, hyper concentrated opportunity to come here in Los Angeles and set up stakes and learn and market and capitalize on this opportunity during these 3 years, but also take away from what you will have succeeded in or learned during this 3-year period while you're making money this 3-year period. You'll also basically be equipped with, like, how to market and sell your brand to people, Americans across the rest of the country over the next 40 years.
Exactly. Right. And that's like, I think the $5 billion in marketing spend, it alone should tell brands, hey, we need to look at this. But the fact, okay, if you need another reason,
Right.
you are future proofing your brand. Like, again, I'm all about helping brands not do these one-off activations, not do Hispanic Heritage Month or Black History Month, and that's all they do.
Right.
Because that's bad for brands. I mean, we see it with Target. I know I feel like I've been bullying Target on every podcast, but I just think there's just such but I'm not doing it, right? The media is doing it.
The market is doing it.
The market is doing it, right?
They left themselves open to this, basically.
Yeah.
I would, and again, parroting not just your talking points of ThinkNow, but shared belief system. Like, they left themselves open to this by not having a more long-term strategic, holistic view.
Yeah, but what's crazy about Target is that prior to them dropping all their D&I initiatives, which then they dropped all their multicultural initiatives, they were the company when people would ask me and I'd go on podcasts or on my podcast and people would be like, what brand do you think is doing it right? Target did it right. I would always say that.
Man, what a
because they partnered with entrepreneurs from the community. Right. They did localization great. So maybe, extending an olive branch, Los Angeles would be a great way for them to get back.
Right. Reinvent, reconnect to the community. Because you basically, we love soccer. Like, basically they've had the worst own goal of all time.
Right. Right.
No, I love that. All right. So I've got another question for you, because and this is like, reading this thing for me was just picking out incredible phrases that really resonated with me. So you mentioned, the report mentions at some point, neighborhood-based microcultures, right? And why people who listen to the show won't be surprised, like, why that jumps out at me, because I've said for decades, hell, I just said it on Threads last night to a whole bunch of people complaining about LA. I was like, I said that most people, locals and visitors, misconsume Los Angeles. Right. Yeah. The way that they go about trying to plan their vacation or enjoy their life when they move here. And therefore, because they misconsume it, like, then they misunderstand it. Right. And so they complain and think that it is this faceless, sprawled freeway system that doesn't lead anywhere and leads everywhere all at the same time. And I've said, for the whole time I've lived here, as a born and raised Chicagoan, which has a reputation both from a marketing standpoint as well as just a general cultural reputation as being, like, famously a neighborhood city, right? I
Yeah.
actually believe that LA is just as much a neighborhood city as Chicago. It's just less dense. It's just more distributed. But we have 120 plus neighborhoods. We have 140 different ethnicities who speak like 224 different languages. So tell me, if we can go down into the neighborhood level in your research, what did the research uncover about like this neighborhood microculture reality here in Los Angeles?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the data points that's related to this was about pride. Like, to your point, we asked, and then let me get a little bit into the study, right? This was like LA County study. So it was like,
Okay.
I don't remember exactly, but 1,000 to 1,500 just in LA County respondents. And so we were able to get into these nuances. So we asked Los Angelenos, how proud are you to live in LA? And across the board, so everyone, like 71% said they were very proud, or somewhat proud, which is top 2 box out of 5 responses,
Yeah.
which I thought it was amazing. I don't know how that compares to other cities, but 70% is a big deal. And you start to get into that. Pride is strongest among Latinos in Los Angeles at 75%. And then also, interestingly, among 18 to 29, 30 to 44, 45 to 64, we see almost the same, 71%. So I thought that was really cool. And I think that's related to this.
How rare is that? And
Yeah,
in most of your
exactly.
research, I bet, right? To see
Yeah.
alignment between essentially like your Gen Z and Gen Alphas and then me, like your Gen Xers.
Yeah. The very proud millennials were the most, to say the very top one. Very
Okay.
proud, 53%, which I thought was cool. And so I think that's related to this idea of a micro neighborhood. And although, I had mentioned that Los Angelenos don't necessarily identify as Los Angelenos, like in terms of that moniker, because we asked, how strongly do you identify with the following possible ways? We asked Californian, American, Angeleno. Top box, 88% identified as Californian. I think the reason is because of this idea of micro neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
Like you're more likely to identify with the state than.
Okay. Because I might be I might be proud or somewhat proud of being an Angeleno, but the truth is, like, I'm actually really proud that I'm from Echo Park, or I'm super proud that I'm from the Valley, or
Exactly.
or I don't know, the
Like
random
I mean that we
Yeah.
have our little like
Yeah.
infighting, right? Like,
Right.
hey, everyone hates on the Valley, but I'm a proud Valley
Right.
Valley kid,
And they are, for people who don't know. And again, back to our broader theme of like the neighborhood culture
yeah,
variable to consider, both as an individual consuming the city, but also as a brand, or
Exactly.
or as an elected official trying to understand how there are different needs for different people in different communities. Like, man, the pride that runs across our individual neighborhoods is hugely dynamic.
Exactly. And so that's the type of things, that's the type of roadmap, actual like actionable insights that we wanted to give brands, right? Like, I think even myself, right, as we talk about, I mean, it's just easier to talk about it, but like Angelenos, putting that in a marketing without, in marketing materials, without doing your research about specific neighborhoods, I think could be money misspent. So we want to help companies, one, identify who are you looking after? Who's your core consumer? Let's find those people in Los Angeles. Let's do some research and help you put together a strategy that's going to really resonate. Because again, this pride issue is also like, we're extremely proud of where we're from. And from a marketing implication, like it could be dangerous if you get it wrong, because we're so prideful, right? If you get it wrong, you've seen it. We will roast the crap out of brands that get it wrong, right? Because
but also isn't that, to your bigger point, like, isn't that a great, like, if you're going to learn that lesson,
right?
Like that's probably something you're setting yourselves up, not to beat Target up anymore, but like that's probably a weak spot in how you see your brand and how you communicate your message. And so Like, rather have you screw it up here in a neighborhood and then get roasted for that and then have the opportunity to recover than like take that strategy or that hole in your vision out to the whole country market and basically maybe not be able to recover from that mistake.
We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Plain Text Capital. You know, investing in Web3 and cryptocurrencies isn't about jumping on the latest trends. It's about understanding where the market is headed and why. Plain Text Capital is a digital asset investment firm focused on long-term strategies backed by deep research, backing the best Web3 companies and protocols, and investing in the newest asset classes of the future. They believe that Web3 crypto will drive digital innovation for decades to come, creating significant value for investors. In fact, their team of highly skilled professionals work with institutions and serious individual investors who want clarity in a space full of hype and noise. So if you're looking to cut through the chaos and invest with purpose, Plain Text Capital brings a disciplined, high-conviction approach to investing. You can learn more and meet the team at plaintextcapital.com.
Exactly. Like I got something, this isn't necessarily an egregious mistake, but I got email marketing recently from like AutoZone about, is your car winterized? And I'm like, dude, it's 80 degrees here. Right. And you know where I live. Like,
yeah. Or you don't, or you think I live. Maybe you think I live.
I've ordered auto parts.
Okay, so they do know. They do know better.
Code. So things like that, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe
they know your data so well that they were like, he's been to Mammoth and Big Bear 3 times in the last year. It's right. But no, you're right.
Maybe.
They're misusing the information that they have, right? Because they're not, as I'm hearing you say repeatedly, like it's just appreciating the granularity of the information that's available. And then making decisions about that, which again, like I'm not a marketer, you are. I'm playing a marketer on this podcast today with you, right? But like as a consumer, right? Like you just said, I want to feel. I think everybody does. Like I want to feel seen. I want to feel understood. Yep. I want to feel respected. And again, I love some of the catchphrases our governor uses. He uses this one all the time. Like people want to be loved, respected, and connected, right? Yeah. And people do. He's right. It's not just a catchy slogan.
I mean, that's it. At the end of the day, and you'll be surprised, Rob. You know more than some marketers that I talk to. Like, honestly, like
because I got friends like you, and I read your reports.
Yeah, it's about understanding people and connecting with them in an authentic way. And I know people throw around this authenticity thing a lot, but what it is just understanding. Like literally asking them, "How do you want to be referred to?" Like. I mean, that's a basic thing, but you will see marketers in the Midwest on the East Coast come into LA and say, "Oh yeah, I know about LA from the movies, X, Y, and Z." And it's like, no, it's very different. It's very different.
That's my thesis on the whole, like not just marketers, but the individual, decides to come out here for their family vacation. And then they walk away going like, that isn't what I expected. Well, yeah, because like the movies aren't real. Like that's not, I mean, it's awesome. You can see places sometimes if it's filmed here, which we need more of, but like, that's like a fantastical version of reality, right? Like the reality is
Hollywood Boulevard.
It's my neighborhood. I get it. I understand it. But like, if that's the top of your trip list, like then you're missing the guy who's the proud 5th generation Mexicano who is a deep Dodgers fan and loves the Lakers and can literally hand walk you to the best taquerias across town. Like
exactly.
And those are the places and those experiences would be the things that if you went to Mexico City or Guadalajara or Buenos Aires, you'd be like, oh my God, I had a great trip because I met the local who then took me to the best place. Like, and you wouldn't think about the touristy things, but people come here and they have this manifestation. But what you're telling me is corporations are making those same mistakes.
100%.
I'm curious in the research, and maybe there was, maybe there wasn't, because you anchored it around these big anchor events, right? And this 3-year window. Did you guys dive into any like specific questions around like the Angeleno identity related to the Olympics or related to the Super Bowl, or did you not get that specific?
So we did broadly ask a question that I love, like during major sports or cultural events, how do you typically show support? And we had, wear team flags or apparel, attend watch parties. And we saw that, got some really cool data. Los Angelenos, as you know, you mentioned Dodgers, Lakers, 42% wear team or whole flag apparel, right?
Merchandise. Okay.
39%, 40% essentially attend watch party or events.
Wow.
37% buy food or merch tied to the event. So, and then I'll share one more, like 34% share or post on social media. I wanted to include this because sure, I could talk about the $5 billion and maybe a brand was like, well, people in Los Angeles are not going to watch parties or they're not going to wear
You're like, no, yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I thought,
wow.
Getting into that, who's doing it? So wearing team apparel, for example, if we look at it by age, it's highest among 30 to 44-year-olds, millennials, 51%.
Okay.
And then interestingly, in second place, it's 45 to 64, 44%. And then Gen Z, still high, 42%.
That is pretty high for Gen Z, considering they don't want to be perceived to not be cool. Right?
Exactly.
So if they're still wearing sports jersey garb,
right.
That says that that's breaking through something that otherwise doesn't break through with them.
Exactly. And I think especially at this time, right, like it made me think about Gen Z. I think the narrative has been they're online and they're not doing in-person stuff, which I think is true. I think we are seeing a backlash to that.
Okay.
They're seeking more in-person experiences, right? You see like the proliferation of escape rooms in Los Angeles and things like that. I think sports gives that live event anchor that that's cool. And I think the teams and brands that are doing the best among young people are those who have integrated online experience with
and in activations, as you say, in local communities. I'm curious if you can unpack the data around watch parties a little bit deeper for us, if you can. And here's why I ask, because I want to frame this up, because I want our electeds and civic influencers here in the city to hear this part of this discussion. Because just 2 days ago, our Mayor Bass announced, as part of a State of the City address that she gave, she announced something, first announcement of this fact, that the city with the county, I think in partnership, is going to host free public watch parties related to the World Cup.
I love that.
100 of them. And 100 of them spread all throughout the neighborhoods, all in partnership with local neighborhood businesses, and all free to the public. And so when she announced that, honestly, I got excited as I was watching it on TV, because I thought to myself, like, aha, okay, I get it. Again, ICE, horrifically destructive Trump 2 administration, attacking our economy, attacking our cities, like still recovering from the pandemic, in year 6 of that. But like the marketer, the booster in me still doesn't hear enough of people going like, let me tell you a great story about what's going to happen and what we're going to do for you. And so I heard her say that and I was like, okay, maybe we're starting to turn the corner and we're going to start talking about the opportunity side of this, not just the struggle side of it. Right. So talk to us about what your research uncovered. When it comes to this idea of who goes to watch parties. First of all, apparently people go to watch parties, which is the first point, but now who's going to them?
Yeah, no, that's great. So I personally am not a watch party person, but interestingly, it brought up this memory. I did go to one for the World Cup at Olvera Street. And I remember it was one of the opening matches. I think it was the last World Cup, Mexico versus Korea.
Okay.
And I wanted to go because that is, Mexicans and Koreans, such a big part of Los Angeles. So much fun, Rob. I mean, took my kids, they were younger.
Unique opportunity.
And it was all, people of all backgrounds, of course, because this is LA, but seeing Mexican and Koreans watch it together and root each other on. I think Korea, I don't know who won, but it was all love.
I think Korea did win that one. Yeah,
it was all love. hugging each other.
Healthy rivalry, not
Yeah.
the like red versus blue finger pointing
Yeah.
and hate that we have online. So okay,
It was awesome.
so who's attending?
Yeah, so
watch
back
parties?
to your point, you
Yeah.
teed it up perfectly. We were talking about Gen Z. When we look at it by age, who's attending? So 39% overall.
Yeah.
But when we look at it age, the highest bracket is Gen Z, 18 to 29,
Look at
46%.
Are going to watch parties. They
Are
want
gonna
that.
go to
They
watch
want
parties.
that. They're digital babies, but they want that in real life
Right,
energy.
right. I mean, I think it's human nature, right? Like, I mean, that's one thing. Like, we are social creatures. We are social creatures, like, period. So people are, I think sports provides that, whether you're like a big sports person or not, right? Like, I'm a Dodger fan. I go to games, but I don't watch every game. I love the Lakers. I don't go to every game. But the big thing that draws you in are the people stories, right?
100%.
Like, and I think that's the same. World Cup gives us that on a global level. So digging a little bit more, number 2, I mean, not even that far behind. Millennials, 44%. And then 45 to 64 is 41%. By the way, I'm leaving out 65 plus. It drops off a cliff there.
Sure.
Like only 24% attending. If we go into the breakout for race and ethnicity in terms of who's attending, Latinos at the top, 44%. Asians, number 2, 40%. And then you have Black consumers, 34%, and then non-Hispanic whites, almost the same, 33%.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's across the board, mainly driven by Latinos and young folks.
And like 2 things that jump out of me. And this is now I'm wearing like my CEO advisor hat on here. But if I'm a brand or completely other end of the spectrum, I'm an elected official. I'm looking at this idea that just around the World Cup as one example, because of the mayor's announcement, they're going to do 100 watch parties in the local community, spread all across the vastness of Los Angeles. If I'm a brand, I'm thinking to myself, like, Mario just told us the story of people who come to watch parties and are likely to buy merch and will spend money on food or merch while at the watch party. So like, I want to, if I'm a brand, I want to partner. If the city is literally producing these events, and I don't know that that's exactly the case, but like, I want to then go partner with the city and that brand and bring that brand to my neighborhood. Maybe I want to go partner with the city and that local restaurant or bar or that local provider, and make sure my brand is there. And if I'm an elected on the other side and I'm saying like, okay, cool. It's not just enough to have a watch party in my district. I want to make sure that the watch parties in my district are incredibly great experiences for my constituents, for my neighborhood people. Like, then make sure that you're providing food and stuff. Make sure that you're bringing merch brands into it. Make sure that you're engaging Angel City or the Galaxy or LAFC. Like, right? Like, do whatever you can do because what your data is telling them is like. And this is what I love about data. Like, and it's one of the reasons I've always such an admirer of you and the work that you guys do. Like, we can have all the feelings we want to have about stuff in the world, and we can have experiences and gut perspective, but like, data just either proves that wrong or proves it right.
Yeah. No,
right?
and
yours is proving it right. Like, there is a massive opportunity for cultural engagement and yes, business, and then therefore great experiences for people. That's like win if people would just pay attention to the data and then apply it to their decision making.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned you're not a marketer, but I feel you should be, Rob, because you hit. I think you gave some really good advice to brands listening and government agencies partnering with local businesses, right? Like, that's just an easy win for brands. If you're not necessarily investing a ton in research, you already have someone that's established. You might have to do some research in terms of, where you want to be, but like, shouting out my friends, Barney and Evelyn.
I was thinking of him, right? Yeah.
Would be great partners if you're going to host a watch party for a brand to give out 100%. Merch. Ricky Rivera, Norwalk Brew, right? At Horchateria. Like, you got just some great people that are already plugged in, are authentic. And if it's aligned from a brand perspective, those are just easy ins, easy wins. but yeah, like having a watch party, giving out free jerseys or branded merch. Like
Right.
everybody
Whatever,
loves free
whatever.
stuff. Get your
Of course.
brand out,
And,
like,
and it's funny, like I shouted out Angel City. I'm an Angel City fan. I go to a couple matches a year. I'm a huge proponent of women's soccer. And I think they do an incredibly effective job in the community. And from a business standpoint, it's been proven out of like engaging with the community. They same time as from the same dais as the mayor the other day, Julie Ehrman, the president and CEO of Angel City for now, she's taken a chairman's job and somebody's going to replace her soon. But she made an announcement that they have just re-upped on a $3 million commitment to foster youth football in the communities for girls, in particular for the next 3 years in partnership with the LA City Parks Department. And I thought to myself, like, of course they did, right? And then she hands Mayor Bass a jersey and like, all the photo ops. And I'm like, that's why Angels, regardless of whether they've not been as successful on the pitch yet as they will be, but like they're embedded in the community at that level where they're fostering a love for the club and the business. And then those with kids of all types, but like girls in particular, that are like, 5-year-olds to 15-year-olds. And then those people are buying the merch. They're following the girls, the women that are the players on social media. They're, so it's so obvious.
Yeah, I think I love Angel City and what they've done. I think they took all the learnings from LAFC and just took it to another level. Like,
right.
Customize
it in a different way. Let's do this because it's a perfect time to do this. For those folks that have listened to the show but don't remember episode 117 from June 6th of 2024 when you were with me on this show previously, I want to take a real quick chance here to have you have the chance to kind of give your commercial, talk about what ThinkNow is. We just kind of queued it up like, hey, if you're elected officials, if you're government agencies, if you're brands, local brands and businesses, small businesses or big, or if you're national or international brands, like these are all the types that make up your clients. And so why don't we take a breath here and just have you tell us about what ThinkNow is, what the agency does, who your ideal types of clients. Give us a couple of examples maybe.
Yeah. I'll give you the elevator pitch. So we call ourselves a technology-driven cultural insights firm. I think you did a great job of explaining what we did at the opening, but we work with all types of companies, from Honda, Meta, AARP. We are industry agnostic, but we focus on diverse consumers in the US. We really believe that diverse consumers are the engine, the powerhouse consumer in the US. And like you mentioned, everybody wants to be seen and understood. And so we help companies see and understand diverse consumers through research. What that looks like is different from every client because we don't have a syndicated product. It's bespoke. So if Honda comes to us and they're launching a new sedan and they know Latino consumers are an important segment, we'll put together the research for them. We'll go out, get people to take that survey or participate in a focus group. We'll analyze that data and present the results. So the research reports that you download are a good kind of snapshot of the type of work that we do for companies. That's the full service side of things that we call full services. We're sitting down with brands. We also work with federal, state, and local government agencies. Same process, but it's a different department because the procurement's different. Okay. But we've worked with the CDC, California Lottery, LA Metro, for example.
Awesome.
So full service research is sitting down with the stakeholder, understanding what's their objectives, designing the research, executing it, and putting together the research. Another part of our business, which is my background actually, is called panel or sample. What that consists of is a panel is a group of people that have agreed to take surveys on a regular basis in exchange for cash. We have the largest U.S. Hispanic online panel and dedicated to Latinos in the U.S. We also launched a sister company, ThinkNow MX, based out of Mexico, that we're doing the same thing. That was actually driven. We were getting a ton of website traffic from Mexico and Latin America wanting to join but we couldn't because it was just.
I remember
US.
you telling that story back in the summer of 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the best decisions we ever made, Rob. Like, it's actually the fastest growing part of our business, Latin America. I think there's some really savvy Mexican and Latin American brands understanding how big the Latino population in the US.
Right.
More importantly, understanding how different it is from Mexico, but realizing, hey, we have these great products and brands here in Latin America. There's a lot of Latinos in the US that want to buy to connect with their heritage. How can we adapt our marketing or products? And so we're getting a bunch of
I love that.
people doing research here, but we're also doing research in Mexico. And that's been a really fulfilling part of building ThinkNow is, being able to connect with my Mexican, Latin American roots.
Right. Like truly live the bridge and not just like
Yeah.
talk about it in theory. I'm curious. This is kind of like a tactical question for prospective clients, right? I assume this, but please articulate it for me if I'm wrong. Like, if I'm a big brand and I say, okay, I want to work with ThinkNow to gather some research to either partake in some of the research you've already had, but I want to work with you to gather some new research, and let's just keep it to this idea of like this report, right? So this opportunity in Los Angeles over the next 3 to 4 years. But then you have talked repeatedly about how this is durable information, like that will essentially kind of eventually be applicable to the rest of the US, right? We're the preview here. So if I was a client of any of those types of client profiles that you mentioned, and I wanted to work with you, am I able to get out of that research like tactical guidance going forward? Like, in other words, am I just working with ThinkNow to gather the research and okay, cool, here's the information, do with it what you will? Or in its full service approach to your agency work, does ThinkNow then also kind of work with me and my brand long term to say, hey, Mario, this is amazing. Thank you. I feel like we're better positioned to capture the opportunity and promote our brand in LA than we would have been without you. But oh, by the way, after the Olympics in LA in 2028, like, we're really curious about these opportunities in Kansas City and in Chicago and in Oakland and in Memphis. Like, can we keep working with you, or do we got to go find like a ThinkNow in Memphis or in San Antonio? We are so grateful to be supported by sponsors like our friends at Haney and Company. We all know that in today's complex financial landscape, having a trusted advisor can make all the difference. Since 1960, Haney and Company has been providing comprehensive accounting services to a diverse range of clients, from small businesses to large corporations. With nearly 400 professionals across 13 locations, they offer services in tax, audit, business consulting, and client advisory. In fact, their commitment to excellence has earned them recognition from Accounting Today and Forbes magazines. At Haney and Company, though, it's not just about balancing books. It's about building lasting relationships based on trust and mutual growth. So visit HaneyCPAs.com. That's HaneyCPAs.com to learn how they can support your business's financial journey.
No, yeah, great question. So we have both types of clients, and obviously the first type of client is our ideal profile, one that we've worked with for years. I can share. I mean, typically we can't share who our clients are because of it's data's sensitive.
No, I don't want you breaking the rules for us.
No, but I can share, like, we've worked with Honda, and the reason I can share, we've like published and won awards, David Ogilvy Awards. So we've worked with Honda for years, exactly that, where we do work in LA, we do work nationally. So we are 100% equipped to work nationally. But we also have clients that worked with us. They have a very specific need in Los Angeles, in Texas, in Miami, and they'll do a one-off. They're happy with it, and maybe we won't see them for a couple of years, and that's fine too. But we have the capability to do one-offs or work in tandem throughout the years. The latter is preferred because, one, it's just great having longevity in a client, but two, of course, you really get to see the impact of your work when you're working closely with someone
and better understand them
Better understand. Yeah.
And they're shifting objectives and goals and leadership and all that changes in any entity over
Yeah.
time.
Like one of my favorite clients is a B2B client. They sell construction materials. And they're just so smart and forward thinking. For us living in LA, it's like, duh, of course you want to reach, the majority of contractors are Latinos. But they understand it in a real way and do research in how do we position our materials so that Latino contractors, like, we're top of mind.
Yeah.
And they've been doing the work for so long that they are light years ahead of other brands that are just starting to realize, oh, maybe we should start targeting Latino contractors to buy our stuff.
Good for them. Good for them, and good for them. Smart. They were smart. They were smart enough to have met you and know what to do with you when they met you.
Right. And so, like, we're working with them, and it's cool because it's like, I love working with brands that most people don't know about, but that are like multi-billion-dollar companies. And
sure.
It's just like, it's cool. And then now I know the brand. So, like, when you see construction sites, I'm like, oh, there it is,
Right. No, that's always fun. Like that little insider kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Couple more questions before we get to our last segment for you. And I don't want to keep it too long. You got a world in one city to take care of. But a couple things that, again, jumped off at me. And this one is more just my own observation. I've mentioned it before a couple times. So I'm curious kind of how it could be applicable. Like, you're not a political agency. I get that, right? You're not like our beloved friends, our amiga Michelle O'Grady Caballero over at Team Friday LA in the communication space, where they work with lots of government agencies and politicians. But you do work with some government agencies. You've already mentioned them, both federal and local here, LA Metro, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of. And so I love that you've been doing work with them. Like, a lot of what I read and heard in the summary that I read, and now what I hear you talk about today, is like, man, this data isn't just applicable to marketing and brand building or selling something, right? Do you see it as I do? Do you see it as like cross applicable to these insights? Could be for like either government agencies or even individual politicians. Do you see that there's value, and how would you explain that to them if one was sitting here with us today and was like, oh, like this, maybe our team should be looking at this in my council district?
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to Michelle and the crew at Team Friday. We actually do a lot of work with them, and it's
we
fantastic.
Love Team Friday.
Yeah, they're awesome. And so, so the short answer is yes, we do work, but we're not a strategy agency. We're not a communication agency. Yeah. That's why it's fantastic working with companies like Team Friday, where they take their expertise in terms of what agency or politician needs, and from a communication perspective, and able to direct us so clearly on what the research should be. Yeah. It makes it so much better when you work with companies like that, because we're a research agency. We know how to take that vision and get it down into a questionnaire and translate it and get the people to answer it. But yes, I did have that in mind when putting this together, from a civic perspective. I think Los Angeles could use more investment in understanding its own people. And so I wanted to get out there. I mean, it worked, right? Like, I hope that city officials listen to your podcast and download the report.
I hope they react the way that I did when I like, it's that immediate sense of like, aha, Mario is telling us how to tell our story.
Yeah. Like, I have reached out to like LA Economic Development Council. Like, I'm open to present. But definitely I see this as a way for us to kind of promote what the people are thinking in Los Angeles, and how can the city better adapt to our needs, our wants the next 3 years as we see these huge events come through the city.
Hugely important. And again, so rare, because so much of the data research, like studies, all that stuff that we see, that we consume in like our normal discourse, is some mythical organization that's telling us what we are. And what I love about this was like as ground up as it gets, man. That's why I love that whole idea of like neighborhood microcultures as a driver, because this was as much like, hey, this report is Angelenos telling you who Angelenos are.
Yeah.
Like this is us telling the world, this is who we are. And so what a better way to represent it. All right, last question. And this is just a bit of a personal take, so we don't have to reference any research data or anything before we get to our last closing segment, which I do want us to talk about kind of the summary takeaways from this. But my last personal question for you is just like, was there one bit of insight from this World in One City report that surprised you?
I mean, I think the Los Angeleno thing was a surprise. I mean, like intuitively, I guess I knew that was the case because I don't necessarily refer to myself as an Angeleno unless I'm talking
so there's a part of you is a little bit like, oh, I maybe would have thought we would have said Angeleno first, Californian second, American third, like, but it was flipped. It was flipped a little bit, and that caught you by surprise a little.
It caught me by surprise. I mean, I guess not. There wasn't anything that surprised. I mean, maybe the big surprise is like, I was just like really happy that most of the hypothesis that I have, like bared out,
right?
Which was really just cool.
No, that is,
you know,
your instincts about why to do the report in the first place and what it could tell us got validated essentially by the facts.
Exactly, and so I guess that was a surprise, right? Because we'd never done research like this at this scale about just Los Angeles. That was great to see things line up. And even like when we were digging into this data about the events, right? Like, oh yeah, like Gen Z, they're the most, like it's just cool to see that it's consistent, internally consistent. It makes me proud that we did good research.
No, absolutely. And it does tell an incredible story of our incredible city. All right, last question. And this is very tactical. So you can please, for those that are watching, you'll see him diligently looking at the slides. For those that are listening, he's just going to sound like super organized right now. So in the summary of the report, you share a number of very specific, very tactical takeaways. If I remember correctly, it was like the top 5 tactical things that folks need to essentially do now. Like, what do we do with this data? And you very specifically give us those 5 takeaways. So let's finish up the show if we can with those 5 takeaways so that people have listened. First of all, I'm going to add my own takeaway, which is before we get to the 5, my pre-number 1 takeaway is like reach out and connect with ThinkNow, right? And like avail yourself of these researchers and this analysis. But for those that are just want to say like, oh, thank you for your data, I've downloaded it, the PDF. What do we do with it? What are the 5 takeaways?
Yeah. First I want people to download the report. So go to la.thinknow.com. We put up a really cool microsite that has data visualizations and you can download the report. So I might answer your questions a little bit differently because I want to touch. So the top 5 are there. I think one thing I want to touch on that we didn't touch on in our conversation is this idea about diversity.
Please.
You and I are big fans and we love the diversity in Los Angeles, but I think my favorite data point was Los Angelenos love diversity. And so we asked, which of the following themes best captures what Los Angeles represents to you personally? So we put sports and entertainment, street style, neighborhood and community, creativity, luxury, celebrity. By far, number 1 was everyday diversity, language, culture, and food at 70%.
Wow.
And so I think that has so many implications for marketers. One of the ideas that I'm workshopping it live right now is like the diversity is Los Angeles' operating system. Like
nice. I love that. It's our OS.
It's our OS, right?
Wow.
And so I think, when you're coming into Los Angeles and you want to market and reach out to Los Angelenos, knowing that that's like what best captures LA to Los Angelenos is massively important. And the implications I think are really deep. And so just to put into perspective, right, it's 70% of Los Angelenos say everyday diversity is what best captures LA to them personally. The next one is sports and entertainment. And that's at 52%.
Wow.
So that shows you how important diversity is.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's
And
like a runaway. I'm no statistician, but like that's a runaway first answer.
yeah, and then like when I say diversity, the is the OS. I mean that literally. So we asked follow up, how important is it that brands reflect LA's diversity in their advertising? We asked them. 7 in 10 Los Angelenos say it's important that brands reflect LA's diversity, and it's strongest among younger consumers. So 71% of 18 to 44. Still pretty high among 45 plus, all the way to 65 plus. That's 63%, and
Wow.
it's highest among Latinos and Black consumers. Latinos at 70% and Black consumers at 74.
Man, I mean, that
So
is like unequivocally us saying to the world, hey, we value every bit of our diverse neighbors. And
exactly.
if you want us to spend our money with you or identify with your brand, you damn well better value us as much as we value each other.
Right. Exactly. And so it's like, you know, the number one thing I would say to brands is when you're coming into Los Angeles, you got to lead with diversity and understand that. That's our expectation.
Yeah.
And diversity is like so complex. It's so important that you need to have a game plan for it, you know?
And I'll add this. I'm always the one that will take the first bullet on politics in today's world, right? Like in a world where a loud minority and a loud minority in power at the federal government level in the United States is actively trying to convince the majority of us that diversity is not important, that it's a fake thing, that blah 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 blah. Like, again, personal opinion aside, the data is already proven out many, many times over. Like, it is absolutely the benchmark for lots of cities and communities around the country and will be the standard multicultural truth of the United States of America as a country over the next 50 to 100 years. And as a result of that, like, again, brand, hey, if you're going to, like, if you want to figure out how to position your company for the next 50 years, come to LA today. Come to LA in 2026 and hang out with us between now and 2030 and not only make a bunch of money and sell a bunch of your products and do whatever it is you're trying to do with your services, but like set yourself up for the world that is the reality, the diverse, multicultural, pluralistic reality of the United States, regardless of what the very small, loud minority of people in power right now are trying to convince us is not true.
100%. And I think
that's why I said I don't put words in my guest's mouth, but that is true.
no. I mean, you know how I feel. We did so much work with DICE, and I think one thing that's important to note too on that point is like diversity doesn't mean we're leaving anyone out.
Exactly.
It's literally the exact opposite, right? And that's what I love about Los Angeles. Like, you can go and have
says the middle-aged Gen X category white dude, like, right, with his Mexican friend. Like, we're like, this is, dude, inclusivity literally means inclusivity of everybody.
Yeah, because we could go, we all have our favorite taco spots, Korean barbecue, but guess what? What's one of the most like popular foods right now is like smash burgers. We all like hamburgers, you know,
and we all have our favorite versus our least favorite one of those too.
Yeah. Yes. So it's like, diversity is not about exclusion. It's about,
all right. So I love the way you, and by the way, this is the privilege of being a repeat guest and alumnus of the community, is you get to say, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to answer this other question. So I love that we finished up that way, because I'm now going to double down and remind people to get the top 5 tactical takeaways from this very simple report. Go to that website address and just hit the download thing. I did it. Yeah. It's how I helped. It's what helped prepare me for this episode. And if I could do it and I garnered all the stuff that I garnered from it, imagine what you're going to be able to garner from it for your business or for your campaign or for your organization or for your agency. So go there, and the top 5 tactical takeaways are right there. It'll be easily read, easily digested. Quick reminder, just in case people want to follow you or find you, like, how do we find you or follow you on social media? We've already talked about the website for the agency.
Yeah. So I think I'm most active on LinkedIn. So Mario Carrasco, Mario Xavier Carrasco with an X. follow our company on LinkedIn as well, ThinkNow, all one word. And we're putting out little by little more and more pieces on this. This presentation actually that I have open is not done. So once that's done, I will be publishing that. But yeah, and then the microsite that we have dedicated to this project is la.thinknow.com. I think you could also find it on our main website, thinknow.com.
Awesome. Get in now. Be like the unnamed construction company that we talked about. Be forward thinkers. Be ahead of the curve. Don't be like Target.
Yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I shop at Target. Sorry, all my friends at Target. But like, be better than that, right? So
yeah,
I love it. Awesome, buddy. This is a pleasure. Everything I hoped for. I knew you and I always have good conversations, but like, I was so eager to learn more and to understand from the researcher's point of view, right? Like I read the data and I know how it felt with me, but I wanted to hear from you and have you help explain to our audience, like why this data is so important in the micro of Los Angeles and in the macro of the United States and kind of where we're all going. And you did that wonderfully. So thank you for that. Thanks for your positive energy. Thanks always for being a brother in our belief in Los Angeles and our potential. It was a blast.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I couldn't have had a better host, someone so passionate about LA. I knew it was going to be a good conversation, so appreciate you.
My pleasure. Awesome. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it. As always, we thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's show was recorded here in Los Angeles and produced by the incomparable Deanna Bernal in Mexico City. You know, we can only grow this show by you listening and sharing the show with friends. So please find, like, follow, subscribe, and share our audio-only show on Spotify, Apple, or via any other popular podcasting platforms. As well as find the video version of our show now available on our YouTube channel over at Entrepreneurial Thinkers. And of course, you can follow along on our various social media platforms for fun and informative clips and content at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, wherever you can find us. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at I Am Rob Ryan on just about any social media platform. Gracias, thank you, and have an awesome day.